Hey traders, Raghee here, and in this recap video we're going to cover how I like to play events. And this one's very personal to me because I'm playing an event that simultaneously is going to possibly dramatically affect my personal life by way of Hurricane Irma coming to Florida. We are, absolutely in the path. There's actually a hurricane watch, no longer a warning, or however it goes. Whatever the imminent warning is from the National Hurricane Center, that's what my family, I'm in Austin right now, they're in South Florida, that's what they're under. So I want to mention that this is, something where at a certain point, we just have to trade what we see and set opinion aside. And this is a great example of my setting a lot of personal opinion aside. This was the play on crude. Now, I've been talking for a few days that it appears the market has really overdone the Irma story as far as the effect on crude oil in terms of this is not a Gulf Coast event. I mean, is it going to affect the entire state? Absolutely. If you kind of think of Florida, your rigs are out here. The storm's going to go right up the center of the state, but your rigs are really going to not be affected. The western edge of the state will, but not the rigs. So crude running up in anticipation of Irma was a very logical, fadeable setup that not only from a narrative standpoint made sense, but also from the standpoint of being on the lower end of the volatility. And this is where the OIH puts and crude oil puts, or even if you went the USO route, made a lot of sense. But the lesson here I want to share with you, on the heels of this really great trade, was the technicals lined up by way of an overbought market within a zone that I would expect resistance to build up within. The narrative made sense as far as the market stepping out ahead of an event like this hurricane that is just unprecedented. It's historical. It's as big as the state. It's 400 miles wide, the storm, and Florida is approximately 100 miles wide. So you get an idea of how the state will be engulfed within this storm. The other thing was the timing. I liquidated the position today because what if? What if this storm going into the weekend, I'm incorrect? So I want you to take away a few things from this. And here's the outline. Okay. Number one, I got to remember, don't take this personal, right? It's not personal. So I don't take it personal. I look at the market with fresh eyes. Number two, what are the technical readings? Do technicals, if you want to look at it as technicals and price and the narrative, which some people would call the fundamentals. I like narrative because narrative implies a certain degree of psychology. Narrative implies a certain degree of a story in the background. Do the technicals, the price, and the narratives kind of dovetail? I know three things can't dovetail, but you get the point. Do they dovetail? What then is really overreacted to? In this case, the fact that the market made a big bet on crude that I thought was unmerited based upon the storm path. Timing. I'm not going to take this into the weekend because there's a very real chance that I could be wrong. So even though this market could again sell off on Monday, it could easily move up higher too if this storm continues to jog to the west and we're surprised. So I take the position off the table. I enjoy the move, the psychology that we saw. So whether it be OIH, whether it be Schlumberger, whether it be the related Halliburton, realize this is a futures trade that emanated from the crude oil market rallying into an area that we could start to say was the lower area of a choppy market and the oversold zone. It's the lower end of the oversold zone. So I'm trading what I see. It's not narrative alone. This is a market that I feel is oversold. I've got Darvis confirmation. We're coming up towards 50. We've exhausted in this area before. Up here would have been a much larger position, by the way. Okay. And then we have the narrative of Irma with a downside target of 48. And we exceeded that by a long shot. So this is what I wanted to show you here today. And for me, maybe it's just kind of a bit of a catharsis and a little bit of therapy as I watch the place that has been my home for 35 years as the storm descends on it. But at the end of the day, again, I'm not taking it personal. I'll look at the opportunities, and this was one of them. And again, take a look at the CLV contract if you want to study what I did. OIH, USO, Schlumberger, and Halliburton, all emanating from a futures perspective from October crude. All right, thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next update.